So we're going to be reading from this book, Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita means the Song of God, the teachings of Lord Krishna. And it's very interesting that people these days are becoming aware that they need help. They need help in different ways. A couple of friends of mine recently I've heard about who suffering with depression. Depression and anxiety, these are very common these days. Very, very common. In fact, it's a disabling disease. The number one disabling disease in new developing countries is depression. Also in the workplace, it's become absolutely what's the word? Like a virus. It's so much in the workplace. Yeah. And yet we hear that the nature of the soul is Ananda, is blissful, Satchidananda. So people, what they do, they'll go to their GP and he'll prescribe some antidepressant and so forth. That's how we deal with things in the material world. We look for a quick fix, a superficial treatment. We want a quick fix. But Krishna actually, I was thinking, is the real antidepressant. Krishna is the antidepressant. And there's no side effects. There's only good effects with Krishna. There's no pills, there's no bills, there's just miracles. This is Krishna. One of the names of Krishna is Sukha Sarup, meaning that he is the embodiment of all happiness. So we know, we have that expression, contact high. If you're with someone that's high, that's happy, that's ecstatic, you just be with them. You pick it up. You get like that. Yeah. Contact high. And that's what's available to us as human beings now. Now that we've come through 8,400,000 species, we've come to the human form of life. And what's the special gift is that we can associate with Krishna. We can associate with Krishna. And that's the way to be happy, because he is the embodiment of all happiness. So he's the real antidepressant. Nothing else will take away depression, because the nature of the soul is to serve Krishna. Jivara Sarup Hoy Nitya Krishna Das Krishnera Tatasta Shakti Beda Beda Prakash. It is the constitutional position of the soul to be the eternal loving servant of Krishna. You can't change that. Just like water, it's wet. You can't change that. It's intrinsic. Similarly, the intrinsic nature of the soul is service to Krishna, loving service to Krishna. And if we don't do that, if we don't engage in what's natural, in other words, we forget Krishna, we don't serve Krishna, we get depressed. It's the symptom. Why? Because we have rejected that which is our real nature, which is devotion. Devotion. The nature of the soul is devotion. Service, loving service, it is the nature of the soul. Selfless, loving service. That couldn't be more further from the truth than our present situation, which is completely the opposite. Everyone is looking for me, for number one. And in fact, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, they will adopt unfair means which may bring harm to others for their own selfish gratification. Bring harm to others. It doesn't mind. I don't care. As long as it gratifies my senses, I will do it. That's how sick and perverse and crazy this society has become. So naturally we have all kinds of symptoms of that madness. Depression being one of them, anxiety, fear, aggression, conflict. They're all symptoms of madness. They're not characteristic of the real soul. So that's sickness. So if you're sick, you need to have a good diagnosis, good doctor, and then the good medicine, right? So the Guru comes, Krishna's pure representative, and he says, you lunatics, this is a lunatic asylum, but I will make you well. Well means I will start being freed of all these nasty things, depression, anxiety. Instead of going to the GP and popping a pill, which is never going to help, temporary solution. Not only temporary, it's actually got adverse effects. They've done studies of these, these shootings they've had, mass shootings at schools and so forth. People go into the automatic rifle. The majority of those students had been on antidepressants for just a week. The majority of them.
The number one antidepressant actually causes depression and anxiety. It's all linked.
Yeah. So this is what happens when you violate the laws of God. You get very, very embarrassed. You get very, very entangled. And you get into all kinds of trouble. Because the madness deepens. You may think that I'll adopt some method, I'll pop a pill, sort this out. No ways. If you violate Krishna's law, the reaction will take you down. There's no material resolution of the problem. It's a spiritual solution. It's a spiritual solution. So, and by the grace of Guru, the pure representative of Krishna, he comes to give us that medicine, that spiritual solution. What is that? Act under his guidance, follow his instructions on the path of bhakti, devotion. In other words, wake up the natural blissful nature of the soul. It is by nature blissful. You don't have to create that bliss artificially, no. Just wake it up. Stop doing that which is anti-bliss and do that which is pro-bliss, yeah? Anti-bliss and pro-bliss, yeah? Who knows that? Only Guru knows that. Because he comes from that transcendental realm where it is all ananda, all blissful, no anxiety, no depression, like that. In fact, the ecstasy rate is increasing in the spiritual world. Not the inflation rate, the ecstasy rate. Anandam buddhivardhanam. The ocean of ecstasy, anandam buddhivardhanam, is increasing. Buddhi means ocean, ananda, bliss. It's increasing. Wow. That is so far removed from the everyday experience we see in this world, where it's all about suffering and competition and conflict and exploitation. That is the sick nature of the conditioned soul. So Krishna comes and speaks Bhagavad Gita so that we can understand the basic four questions of who am I, why am I here, where am I going, and why I'm suffering. Four basic questions are essential. You have to ask those questions. If you don't ask those questions, you're not a human being. You're not a human being. You're just an animal on two legs. Who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? Why I'm suffering, like that. So we're going to read today from the 4th chapter, Divine Communion through Culture of Perfect Understanding. The omniscient Lord went on, in the days long past I illumined the deity of the sun with this understanding. He in turn gave instruction to the ancient father of the human race, Manu, who in due course revealed these truths to Ikshvaku, the founder of the solar dynasty. Through the system of preceptorial transmission and apostolic succession, the great and sagacious rulers of society received, understood, and passed on the truth generation upon generation. As the time went by, however, recollection of humanity's relationship with the Supreme became dimmed, and the power of the teaching diminished, my victorious comrade. Because you love me and see me as your friend, I shall this day reveal to you that same scientific understanding which in those very olden days I first transmitted. I shall speak of that mysterious truth which transcends all darkness. Arjuna then queried, you were born a great deal after the deity of the sun. How could you have instructed him at the very beginning of this solar system? The ancient and beautiful Lord replied, "O my noble and heroic friend, you and I have both experienced many lifetimes. I have full recollection of them all, but you are completely unaware of them. Although for me there was no birth, and my body is not subject to disintegration, and although I am the indwelling controller and master of all sentient beings, nevertheless I am able to manifest myself to the vision of others through the agency of my own spiritual potencies. Whenever time and circumstances cause human society to abandon the law of selfless service, and as a result heinous activities begin to appear, I intervene by manifesting my appearance. In order to glorify and encourage my saintly devotees, to discipline and reform their persecutors, and to establish anew the eternal truth, I manifest my transcendental pastimes within the world at different times throughout the ages. Those who understand and show faith in the divine nature of my appearance and pastimes are not forced to take another birth. Instead, my dear friend, they come to dwell with me. A great many souls have already come to the stage of taking full shelter in me, having been purified by penance and the cultivation of perfect understanding. Freed from all false attractions and anxieties and frustrations, they reach the absolute reality of my transcendental loving nature. I personally reciprocate with every soul who seeks my shelter, and I give myself to them to the extent they give themselves to me. My dear child of Preta, all souls are in reality always on their way to meet me. Selfish men seeking success in their profit-oriented actions certainly do well to enlist the aid of the devas, the demigods, with whose assistance they will no doubt prosper in their worldly civilization. Although you should know that I am above the process of creation and beyond the influence of change, I am nonetheless the founder of that ancient social system which allows for a natural division of labor between four principal subdivisions of servants on the basis of their qualities and tendencies toward action. I am never affected by any action and never aspire for fruit from my labors. Those who know me, in truth, are also as free as myself. In the days of great antiquity, your noble predecessors gained their freedom by acting in the selfless way, and you should now honor those revered forefathers by serving with the same spirit of pure devotion. I shall explain to you in greater depth the sacred doctrine of divine service, which will save you from all inauspicity and bestow full freedom upon your soul. Even the very wise show difficulty in understanding how a life made sacred by active divine service excels absolute retirement from effort. Mystery surrounds the topic of action, makes it difficult to discriminate between actions which are obligatory, those which are prohibited, and those which are liberating. Those persons who understand the liberating effect of active divine service and the blame attached to complete retirement from action are distinguished from all humanity as most evolved in intelligence. Such souls remain always close to me in the midst of all their pious efforts, and they fulfill the true purport of all the revealed scriptures. The clear-thinking, enlightened souls have understood with perfect understanding is sufficient to destroy all blameful action. Such perfect understanding arises naturally in those who never fix their attention on selfish desires and are sincere in all their attempts. Such sincere souls never consider their personal profit and always remain self-satisfied, with no other center of interest besides the rendering of loving service to the Supreme Divine Person. They remain completely free, no matter what action they perform. Souls may act to maintain their healthy existence without fear of blame, by giving up all sense of bodily designation and acting lovingly with consciousness perfectly centered in the Spirit Self. Be content with that which comes easily, rise above good and evil, culture a pure heart free from envy, be equal in the face of both pleasant days and trials. With such an attitude you may act without fear of bondage. Those who are beyond craving, those who are truly free, become illumined by pure consciousness. and their selfless acts in service to the all-pervading Supreme Person, who is the very soul of action, cause them to become absorbed entirely on the plane of transcendental love. As cow's ghee is poured as an oblation into the sacrificial fire, so should the self be offered into the brilliant radiance of a life of divine service. Absorption in spiritual activities brings one at once onto the pure spiritual platform. Among spiritually oriented persons, there are some who render first-class service to the devas, to the demigods, and others who make offerings of prayers and paraphernalia to the sacrificial flame. There are yet others who engage themselves in constantly hearing transcendental sound vibrations which allow them to quiet passion, and others still who offer the sensory objects as oblations into the fire of the senses. Those who desire to be illumined with perfect understanding and to come to the stage of self-mastery should make an offertory out of every action and every breath. Some souls embrace vows of poverty and absorb themselves in disinterested penance, while others pursue the system of yoga. Another group pursues a course of scriptural research and adheres to rigid vows. Some are inclined to practice the control of the life airs, and they become absorbed in trance by restraining first the incoming and then the outgoing breath. Many also regulate their eating habits very strictly, while at the same time trying to balance their life airs. Although they appear to be differently engaged, because they are all well schooled in the art of selfless service, they may all come at last into the immortal region of the spirit, where they shall drink the nectar which such sincere service produces. Selfish souls, on the other hand, will find no peace even in this world. So what will they hope to encounter in the afterlife, O supermost amongst the Kurus? A wide variety of engagement arising from the various tendencies toward action has been approved by the revealed scriptures, and you may gain your freedom by understanding all of this. Ever victorious Arjuna, to make an offering of one's intelligence is considered to be superior to an offering of goods. Offering one's intelligence in divine service will bring one perfect understanding, my dear child of Pritha. All of this knowledge lies in the gentle hands of the genuine divine teacher, whom everyone must seek out. If such a wise and holy person is found, who has actually gained the vision of truth, and has perfect understanding as well as the ability to transmit it, then one should make approach with humility, inquire with a sincere heart, render favorable services, and request the Master to implant the seed of pure love and theistic devotion in the core of one's heart. When you have come to know the love of the Supreme Person, you will never again be illusioned. You will see that all living beings are my own children, who always remain with me, and are never truly separated from me. And you will understand in this way that all souls are in fact your dear relations. Even if you be the worst of sinners, once you board the vessel called perfect understanding, you will certainly be able to cross over the sea of troubles. Just as a blazing bonfire quickly reduces wood to ash, so does the fire of perfect understanding reduce to ash the reactions to all past deeds, my dear Arjuna. Nothing can be found in this world that can compare to the treasure of perfect understanding, so sublime it is and beyond description. Those who culture it in the maturity of time become enabled to realize the perfection of their eternal spiritual personalities. Divine peace and transcendental bliss quickly descend upon the ever-faithful persons who culture perfect understanding and attempt to gain mastery over their sensory demands. Those who are plagued by misunderstanding, show no faith in the Supreme Divine Person or in the sacred teachings. Such souls have no prospect for joy here or in the life hereafter. O you who are expert in the acquisition of fortune, a soul who remains detached while performing loving service to me, and who eliminates all doubts by development of perfect understanding, becomes fully self-realized and completely free from the chain of action-reaction. Therefore the misunderstandings that have become lodged in your heart should be driven out with the weapon of perfect understanding. Destroy your doubts and arise, O noble-hearted bard. Equipped with this doctrine of divine service, go on to prevail in the battle